So I guess the question that I want to start with here, before we get into anything, you got the same coaching staff back, but is this a rebuild? Because what did they do to improve here?
What did they do to improve?
They're at 8 wins. So when you're at 8 wins, you either are, okay, how are we going to get to 9 or 10? Or are we rebuilding? What's going on here?
All right, let's go ahead and look at some of the additions and subtractions for this team. In terms of additions, wow, nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Really nothing. They didn't really do anything. Sorry guys, burped in the camera for you guys. Sorry. So we brought in the safety from Miami, Brandon Jones, to replace Kareem Jackson, the assailant from last year that was trying to give everybody a fucking concussion. So they replaced him. Justin Simmons, he also left last year. He was a mainstay there for years in the secondary. So they replaced 2 of their safeties with 1 safety. So that doesn't even make sense. So they brought 1 safety in to replace 2 safeties. They brought Jonathan Franklin Myers in to, I guess, somewhat boost their edge rush. Not even the best edge rusher there. So that's not the best
He's okay.
addition. I guess okay. I mean, what, like a 76 in Madden? Like,
oh, we're talking about his Madden rating?
What, like the 7th best edge rusher on the Jets? Like, he's not a very good edge rusher. I'm sorry. He's just an okay edge rusher. Zach Wilson to be the 3rd quarterback on the team. Levi Wallace, a journeyman corner. I mean,
but Zach Wilson's a locker room guy.
He is the locker room guy. He speaks within prayer. He speaks within journey. So yeah, I mean, if you're talking about moxie, if you're talking about aura, the Broncos did bring in a lot of aura to this locker room.
99 overall in aura.
If you're talking about talent, where is it? Where is the talent they brought into the locker room? If you're talking about the talent they lost, though, I mean,
well, okay. The way I look at it is, okay, if they want to take a step forward, they have to improve the run defense. They couldn't stop the run for shit, and they didn't really do that. So I don't understand. Same defensive coordinator, similar personnel. How are they stopping the run this year?
Well, I don't think it's really going to get much better because you lost Josie Jewell. You get rid of Josie Jewell. You try and bring in Cody Barton. As you can see right there at the bottom of the list of additions, Cody Barton had a 53.9 PFF rating last year. One of the worst linebackers in all of football. He wasn't much better for the Seahawks 2 years before. So this guy is just not a good linebacker. He's a downgrade over Josie Jewell. So I don't really think the rush defense gets better. And we don't really have a depth chart that we could go ahead and look at, but this pass rush last year, if you go ahead and look at it, let's go ahead and bring up the numbers. Something that surprised me about this pass rush is that this was a unit that was 8th in adjusted sack rate. That's pretty surprising because there's no big names in terms of this pass rush. I mean, I'm going to just pull up the depth chart to myself right now.
They blitzed a lot.
Yes, exactly. So they were able to capitalize on the blitzes they had. They were 5th in blitz rate. So when they did blitz, they were able to capitalize on those blitzes. They were able to get sacks at the 8th highest rate. But they only got pressure at the 4th highest, no, at the 4th lowest rate. I mean, that is heinous right there. If you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, that puts a lot of pressure on your corners. And the only good corner in this secondary is Patrick Surtain. If you can see right there, they play man at a pretty high rate. If you're playing man at a high rate and your only good man coverage corner is Patrick Surtain, then it's just feasting grounds for the other receivers there. So obviously number 1 options, yeah, they're being held by Patrick Surtain, but other guys are just eating on them. And I remember specifically in that Houston Texans Denver Broncos matchup, I mean, Patrick Surtain last year, it was even starting to catch up to him, the fact that he can't keep this defense together all by himself. I mean, Nico Collins was kicking his ass in that game. He couldn't do anything. So yeah, and I mean, you could see it.
We talked about the run defense numbers, arguably one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, maybe the worst, honestly. They allowed 5 yards per carry on the team, which is dead last. But if you look at their pass defense numbers too, they're dead last against the short pass, 29th against the deep pass. And if you're thinking, oh, well, maybe they'll just run some zone this year because Prop Beaver just mentioned how man coverage could be an issue. Well, they're actually bottom 7 zone coverage defense as well. So when they did run zone coverage last year, they were 25th in yards per pass attempt allowed in zone, 27th in passer rating allowed in zone. So the zone coverage didn't help much either. So I don't see. And I feel like we keep repeating the same point here, but I don't see where the step forward is.
So the one thing I will say Somebody brought it up. Daniel Caps, actually, right there. Didn't Denver had a good stretch last season? Yes, they did. And really, it all came with their defense. The main
I have the
reason
game
they
logs
had
there if you want to
stretch,
show them that defensive stretch. If you go to their defensive game logs, you should have a graphic in there so they can see.
So yes,
It should be towards the back.
Up for you guys.
It's actually a cool graphic. You can see the exact stretch. Keep going. No, keep going. It's Denver defense. It'll say that one.
Okay.
So if you see, there's a stretch where
all right,
the defensive numbers look decent there.
So if you guys look from weeks 1 through 5 here, as you can see, I mean, the Denver defense is absolutely horrendous. The rush yards per carry, I mean, 5.3 yards per carry allowed, 8.1 yards per carry allowed, 5.5 yards per carry allowed, 7.3 yards per carry allowed. I mean, this team was getting ran all over. They couldn't do absolutely anything. And on top of that, they were also getting killed in the pass game as well. Look at the pass yards per attempt, 7.7, 7.7, 13.4, 9.6, 7.7. Pass rating as well, all 100 or greater, getting killed. But then look what happens from week 6 all up until week 14. Look at those greens. We're starting to see 78.8, 59.1, 59.3, 80.3,
and look at the teams too.
68.6.
Mahomes, Josh Allen, like there's some quarterbacks.
Kirk Cousins in there. Yeah. So
I think Kirk Cousins might have been hurt by then.
Yeah, that was Josh Dobbs actually. So yes, thank you for correcting me there.
But
yes.
Also Jordan Love's in there. Like
yes, but they started facing some good competition. So they did have a good stretch in there, but then what happens at the end of the season? They go ahead and they shit the bed again. So that's what makes this Denver team so hard to read, because at the end of the season, it's a weird schedule. Again, I mean, they face Detroit at Detroit and they get absolutely killed. 6.6 yards per carry allowed, 135 pass rating. That's brutal. Sure, that's at Detroit, so you could like give them a bit of a break.
Everyone gets cooked at
Detroit. But then you're getting cooked by the Patriots. You allow an 118 pass rating to the Patriots, and I forgot how many points in the game, but a pretty good amount of points. You just simply can't be doing that. And then on top of that, you allow Aiden O'Connell to have a good game on you, and the Raiders to put 26 plus points on you. So when you finish the season like that as well, pretty bad. I mean, let's just look at it. Weeks 1 through 5, 32nd in defensive EPA per play. Weeks 6 through 14, 3rd in defensive EPA per play. And then weeks 15 through 18, 27th in defensive EPA per play. There's no consistency. It makes it very hard to predict this unit going into this year. And with the losses that happened as well, it's pretty hard for me to go ahead and say, okay, I know the majority of the season, that middle span, they were a really good defense. But if you look at the numbers as a whole, they were a bottom 3 unit last year. And I think unfortunately that's what we have to look at them as going into the season. They're a pretty bad unit. They don't really have a pass rush. Besides Patrick Surtain, would you say any of these guys are like, I don't know, top 10 players at their position? I don't think so.
No, and I'm pretty sure the consensus, we could all say that the defense should on paper be bad. I mean, I guess maybe the coaching staff thinks they can replicate what they found for that 5-week stretch, maybe. So like maybe there's something, but I think as a whole, more evidence points towards the Denver defense being poor again. Now on the other side of the ball, I think if you are trying to play devil's advocate, and maybe if you're an optimistic Broncos fan, that you maybe can point at a few things here. I mean, Sean Payton's second year, right? Another year. I mean, Sean Payton knows how to score points. We've seen it for years. He got the quarterback he wanted. So look, I'm not a Bo Nix guy, but that's what Sean Payton wants to do. That's why Drew Brees was able to play till he was 75 years old. He wants to get the ball out quick, 4 yards, get the ball to his playmakers, and that's exactly what he got in Bo Nix. That's what Bo Nix made a career doing. That's what he almost won the Heisman Trophy doing, was getting the snap, make a quick read, get the ball out. That's exactly what Drew Brees did. That's why Drew Brees was able to play so long. So he got the guy he wanted to run the offense he wants to run. And you know who I think one of the most underrated offensive weapons in the league is Courtland Sutton. That dude is that dude is a playmaker to the max. If you go on YouTube right now, I don't know this for a fact, but if you go on YouTube right now and type in Denver Broncos 2023 highlights, I bet you 90% of them are Courtland Sutton touchdown catches. He was the only player on that offense making plays. So you still got him. Javonte Williams healthy. I mean, I guess. What is he coming off, an Achilles?
No. So what I'm actually excited about Javonte Williams this year. So Javonte Williams coming off of an ACL tear, not last year, but the year before. And with running backs, it's not the year coming off that ACL tear you want to buy into them. It's that second year coming off of that ACL tear, They they got the reps in that they needed to build up on that knee, to get that strength needed. They got the confidence now. So going into it, year 2, he's looking really good in the preseason. He took 100% of the snaps with the starters in the preseason. You know how rare that is?
Yeah.
Very, very
That's
rare
good.
to
That's
take
cool.
100% of the snaps with the starters in the preseason. So for my fantasy people, very, very interesting there. And on top of that, look at this right here. 4th in run blocking grade last year, 14th in adjusted line yards. I was also looking at some of the PFF grades and stuff for the Denver line, because I want to see, with Lloyd Cushenberry gone, what are the strengths of this Denver O-line? Are they still good? Because they do have some pretty interesting pieces. Mike McClenchey's pretty good. Garrett Bowles is pretty good. Quinn Miners is pretty good. They have a pretty decent O-line, but their strength is not pass blocking, really. It's run blocking. They're a really, really strong run blocking O-line. So I think where this offense can find its strength and its identity is just pounding the shit out of the rock this year with Javonte Williams, and just living and dying by the screen game. Living and dying by the screen, pounding the shit out of the ball.
That kid
and just,
McLaughlin, too. He's a beast.
I know. I really think that it's going to be a lot of running the ball, getting a lot of these running backs involved, lots of screen games, and trying to use as much clock as possible. Because if you're Sean Payton, you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and you got to say, Vance, listen, brother, it's not you. I know your unit's pissed. I'm not giving you much to work with. So I want your unit on the field as little as possible. I'm going to try and take as much time off the clock, and I'm going to try and get in the end zone as much as possible, but I also need you on the field as little as possible. So I think that's what they got to do. I think they got to take as much time off the clock. And I don't know. I don't trust this Bo Nix guy, but if this is the perfect marriage, as some people think it is, maybe this works. See, the Broncos is tough because I think the range of outcomes is so wide. I think this team could win 3 games. I think they could also win 8 games. So
that's not that wide. So under 500, definitely.
Well, I think for a team with a win total of 5.5, it's pretty wide.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
Andy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had very basic thoughts on this team as well. They're very hard to read. I don't like Bo Nix. I watched him in college for now 4 years. Since he was at Auburn, really, is when obviously he got a lot of playing time. And in the SEC, he was, and that's the best you can compare to the NFL. He was pretty much average at best as a college quarterback in the SEC. And then he goes over to Oregon, where everybody knows in the Pac-12, nobody really played defense Nobody played defense on the field, but they also schemed him up perfectly where he never had to throw the ball down the field. And really the only time he struggled were in his biggest games, which I always thought was weird. Both games against Washington, he threw interceptions in both of those games. He protected the ball really.
The first one was Dan Lanning's fault, not his.
But he protected the ball really well all year. But when he faced those a defense that really wasn't that good, that Washington team, he was throwing interceptions, and it was weird and at a weird rate too. So that was weird in his big games. He couldn't play well. And then on defense, like you guys said, they didn't really add much. Obviously, you guys talked about Andre Smith. Their 3rd round pick. They didn't have a 2nd round pick, but Jonah Ellis played a lot at Utah. He was good at tackling. I mean, that was really all he was great at. But he played since his freshman year. He was a starter there. He played 35 games in 3 years. So he's a guy who played a lot. So I guess you could maybe see him hitting. But really, they didn't have a very good draft either. So yeah, I don't really see much from this team in terms of improvement.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get to the schedule. I mean, I think that there is a path for Denver offense to be successful. And I mean, we did see a brief stint when the defense looked good. I think it's pretty thin, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, the one hope is that their schedule could be as easy as their division mate, the Chargers. I mean, because the Chargers schedule was ridiculous. So let's hope that their schedule would be as easy. But I mean, I'm just looking at a glimpse of it right now.
I actually don't hate their opener.
It's not looking like that.
If I'm Denver, I'm worried about. Okay, so obviously they open on the road in Seattle.
Well, you hate this. The Seahawks.
Well,
I've never seen somebody who hates the Seahawks.
No, I don't. So that's not true. If I'm going to mark Denver down as an automatic loss on the road, it would be against a team that can run the ball, which Seattle couldn't last year. So maybe on the road in Seattle against a Seahawks offense that isn't really equipped to exploit Denver's biggest weakness. There's no way I'm going to say, hey, Denver wins this game, but I don't think it's crazy.
Okay.
Denver steals that one. Not to mention the Seahawks defense was so underwhelming, underperformed like crazy last year. So, I mean, obviously we have to mark that as a loss, but I don't think it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh can run the ball this year. That's a loss, man.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get killed.
At Tampa Bay.
So the thing with the Tampa Bay game is Tampa really can't run, but Tampa can stop the run.
This isn't bad.
But can Tampa stop the run with Devin White gone? And then
So I don't. How about this? They'll take one of Tampa Bay or Seattle.
I mean, we'll get to it eventually, but I think Tampa's horrendous.
Yeah,
So,
I don't like them either. So let's say they're 2-1 after 3. At Jets loss.
2-1 after 3?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh no! I'm sorry.
No, 1 and 2.
The Pittsburgh's a loss. They're 1-2. I'm sorry.
2.
Yeah.
Apologies. 1-2 after 3. Jets loss.
Yeah.
Home against Raiders. Well, they'll take one of the Las Vegas games, so we'll give them the home one.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2-3.
Mm-hmm.
Home against Chargers.
I think they'll beat the Chargers.
All right, that's 3-3. At Saints loss probably. Even though I'm not big on the Saints, but Sean Payton returns to New Orleans. It's poetic.
It's poetic.
I
want to give them one of the Saints or the Panthers.
Oh, I'll give you. Okay,
I mean,
let's give them one.
really?
Let's give them one.
Really?
4-4.
What do you mean, really?
I'm
Both
gonna
those
give
teams are
them the
absolute
Panthers. They're
heinous
gonna win that
dog
game by
piss.
30.
Dude, Bryce Young.
They suck. What are we
All
talking
right.
about?
At Baltimore, at Kansas City losses.
Yeah,
Home against Atlanta's a loss. They're gonna run the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I mean, Arthur Smith's gone. It's a new look Atlanta team, but still, I mean, I think we.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bijan Algier should still.
So now we're
They
at
should
4-7 at Las Vegas. We gave them the first one, which means
You got to lose this one.
and Cleveland, dude.
But Cleveland on the road. And Deshaun.
Yeah. Oh.
Denver steals that game.
What's their win total at? 5.5, right?
Yep.
And then Colts, they got the Chargers.
But then do they get one more game? I don't know.
They can win that home of the Colts. If the Chiefs have the 1 seed clinched or some shit, they can win week 18.
Yeah,
This is over.
I'm going over.
This is over.
I'm going over. Wow.
It's-
I really have an over for a Bo Nix fucking Broncos team. What the hell?
It's disgusting. But they're at 6 wins. They land on 6.
I like them better than Chargers somehow.
Is Bo Nix the solidified starter? Or are they going to be throwing Zach Wilson?
Okay, here's a caveat,
then,
people.
Then it's like a.
I'd like to take back my over.
If Stidham's starting, I'm not rolling this shit. Bo Nix
No.
better be the week 1 starter.
Bo
That's
Nix
the one
is
caveat
starting.
here.
Hope he starts.
Is Bo Nix starting?
That's
I
a
didn't think-
caveat here, people. Bo Nix must be the game 1 starter, or it's void.
Okay, so
Well, yesterday Stidham started.
Stidham started.
I stand
Yeah,
with
I
Bo.
watched the
I don't
preseason.
think it's been
I
announced
stand
yet.
with Bo. I'm
Broncos
not
should
standing
make
with
Bo
this
Nix
prick,
their
Jared Stidham. I stand with Bo.
Honestly, I don't mind Stidham though. As long as it's not Zach Wilson, I'm still
As
on the
long as
over.
It's not Zach Wilson.
I mean, if it's Zach Wilson, and burn the ticket. Take the all. Take the all under.
All right, let's
All right,
switch
yeah,
it
let's
over.
go to college.
Let's
All
talk
right.
some college ball.
See y'all later,
ACC,
folks.
Who's up first, Cal?
Wow. Golden Bear.
We're into the ACC, and although it's fun to make fun of the ACC, we're going to start out with some teams that actually should be in pretty good